I deleted both my children's numbers from my phone. I was 91 years old. My hands were shaking, and it was the best decision I ever made. I know what you're thinking. What kind of mother does something like that? I'll tell you what kind. The kind who spent 2 years calling, texting, leaving messages, like someone knocking on a door that was never going to open. The kind who wakes up one morning, looks in the mirror, and doesn't recognize the person staring back. That's how it happens. Not all at once. Slowly, quietly, until one day you realize you traded your dignity for a message that says, "Happy birthday." That's all I got. A short message, sent at the very end of the day, from the two people I gave everything to. Do you know what that feels like? It's not being forgotten. It's worse than that. It's being reduced to a notification, reduced to a formality, reduced to something that can be handled in seconds. And the hardest part? I let it happen. For 2 years. 2 years of messages that started with, "I was thinking about you. Call me when you can." No pressure, no demands, just hope. And sometimes they did call, short calls, careful ones, the kind where you can feel it. You are taking up their time. You know exactly what I mean. That pause, that subtle distance, that invisible clock ticking in the background. And what did I do? I tried harder. I called more. I reached more. I held on tighter. Because that's what we do when something starts slipping away. We grip it. We don't let go. We call it love. But sometimes it isn't love. Before all of this, I spent decades working with my hands. I understood how things function, how systems behave, how pressure affects structure, and I knew this. When something is worn down and you keep forcing it to work, it doesn't fix the problem, it makes it worse. But I didn't apply that knowledge to my own life. One evening, I called one of my children, no answer, so I left a message, a long one, calm, careful. At least, that's what I thought. Later, I heard it play back, by accident. I sat there, listening to my own voice, for 4 minutes, and underneath my words, there was something else, something I hadn't noticed before. It wasn't anger, it wasn't even sadness, it was desperation, soft, polite, almost invisible. But it was there, in every pause, in every sentence. It sounded like someone asking, without asking, like someone hoping, without admitting it. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. I realized something I didn't want to admit. I wasn't calling to give love. I was calling to receive it, to confirm it, to prove it still existed. I had stopped being a person and become a need. And that changes everything, because people don't pull away from love. They pull away from pressure, even when that pressure is quiet, even when it's disguised as care. That truth is hard, but it is real. That night, I walked into my kitchen, stood there in silence, and tried to remember when I had last felt like myself, not someone waiting, not someone hoping, not someone watching the phone, just a person. I couldn't remember, and that was the moment I knew something had to change. The next morning, I picked up my phone, opened my contacts, and looked at their names. My hands trembled. They are my children. That doesn't disappear. That doesn't fade. But neither does reality. So I did something I never imagined I could do. I deleted both numbers, not because I stopped loving them, but because I needed to stop reaching for them. I needed space. A wall between my loneliness and the easiest way to try to fix it, because you cannot bring someone closer by pulling harder. You can only become someone who stands on their own again. The first days were the hardest. My hand would reach for the phone without thinking, like a habit that hadn't realized it was over. But slowly, something changed. On the fourth day, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years, an old connection, someone from another chapter of my life. They answered, quickly, warmly. We talked for hours, nothing important, and everything important. There was no pressure, no expectation, just conversation. And for the first time in a long time, I felt present. After that, I started doing more, small things at first, then bigger ones. I stopped waiting, and I started living again. I found ways to use my time, to use my mind, to use my hands, not as a mother waiting to be called, but as a person with something to give. Weeks later, one of my children called. From a different number. There was concern in the voice, curiosity. Something had changed, and it had. I was no longer someone waiting by the window. I was someone living a life. The conversation was different, because I was different. And that is something no one tells you. When you stop chasing, people notice. Now listen carefully. I am not promising that this will bring people back. Sometimes it won't. Some distances are chosen, and they remain. But this is not about them. It is about you. Because you deserve more than waiting. You deserve a life that moves, that breathes, that exists. Even in the silence. My name is Louise Miller. I am 91 years old, and I no longer sit staring at a phone that doesn't ring. I drink my coffee. I live my days. I choose how I spend my time. And I remember who I am. If this story spoke to you, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. There are people out there who need to hear this, maybe more than you realize, and if you're still waiting for a call, let me leave you with this. Stop waiting. Start living. Because your life is happening now, not when someone decides to dial your number.